I know it's like super cliche, but yeah, I want to be healthier this year, or not just this year, just in general. I've been feeling this way for a while.
Life.
I do feel like I kind of let myself go a little bit in 2020 and sort of deviated from consistently, working out or necessarily eating as well as I would like to. And I guess my motivation here is mostly that I kind of feel pretty old these days. When I wake up and roll out of bed in the morning, I just feel kind of sluggish and my knees kind of hurt. And I'm turning 33 in March. And I think, maybe I'm just thinking about getting older and things like that. But I want to be mindful of the fact that as you get older, I think these problems only get worse and only gets harder to get in better shape. So I think I'd like to just put a little more emphasis and priority and hold myself a little bit more accountable moving forward in terms of just more consistently working out and eating better and things like that.
Do you have any goals for this year that aren't related to physical health?
Yeah. I guess the other one I'll mention is I just want to, I found in 2020 too, like a lot of this is just reaction to like things I noticed about myself in the past year. But I found I was listening to and reading and consuming a lot of content that was just really familiar to me. And there's something really comforting about that. And I want to be careful not to fall into that trap too much of just only relying on things I'm already familiar with or comfortable with, because I feel like that's not the best thing for your growth as a person, I guess. I don't know, but I was listening to this podcast, like Freakonomics episode. You aware of those guys? It started out as a book. It's like pop social psychology applied to topics that's more accessible to a wider reading audience, but they turned it into a podcast. They had an episode recently about why people revert to comfortable things or things they're familiar with. And I guess it seems kind of obvious, but it's interesting because they notice this pattern not just in people, but just in mammals in general, that if you look at like the age life curve at like the same point in someone's life, if you haven't opened your horizons to certain things by a certain age, there's a really good chance that you're never going to familiarize yourself or grow accustomed to it. So if you haven't tried sushi by the time you're 31, you'll probably never develop a taste for sushi. Or if you haven't
always think that you hate it or something.
Yeah, or if you haven't tried, if you haven't listened to a genre of music at a certain age, you'll probably just never actually get into it. And it's not to say that's like definitely true. You could be some 60-year-old out there who's listening to Led Zeppelin for the first time and all of a sudden really like rock music. Like, I don't want to say this is just like a true cutoff or something like that. But I think it's just, it kind of prompted me to consider that this year I've been just listening to a lot of the albums I previously loved and only reading books I've like already read and things like that. So I would like to hold myself a little bit, put this expectation on myself to like make sure I'm still consuming and making myself familiar with new things. And that doesn't just mean new things like the hottest new release that all the kids are listening to. Like, I'm trying to stay current, you know what I mean? Like, it's just discovering new things even if they came out 50 years ago, or a book that was written 100 years ago that I just haven't read yet. It's more about just things that are novel to me rather than novel in culture.
I like that. It's like new year, new things.
Yeah.
And you never want to stop learning.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being comfortable or finding comfort in things you're familiar with. There's a reason why people watch their favorite TV show over and over again,
Or their
right?
favorite YouTubers, yeah.
Yeah, or like if I find something I like for lunch, I could eat that every day for lunch for months.
I've had oats every breakfast, and I will maybe for the rest of my life.
And I'm not saying I'm going to just like stop doing that altogether, but I just don't want to swing so far in the direction that I'm not open to trying new things as well.
Yeah, I like that. So you can take comfort in things that comfort you, but don't be afraid, I guess, to look towards new things, and because maybe you'll discover something new that you find comfort in, and you wouldn't have known it if you didn't go looking.
That's right.
And that's the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening.
See you next time on Tuesday.